Tanner. Dear Annie. Uncle, what are you doing? This was great. If it's real, big if true is probably the best way to describe this one. So let me jump right into it. Dear Annie, I live in a small town with my wife of 33 years. My wife has a large family, most of whom live in the same state as us. Two of her siblings had daughters the same age who grew up like sisters. Last summer, her two nieces came to stay with us for a week while on break from college. Turned out her nieces were hard partying, dope smoking, heavy drinking types. One day, while my wife was at work and I was working from home, they got me to party with them. We got pretty wasted and ended up all hooking up. The same thing happened the very next day. I know they liked seducing their aunt's husband, and I had a mind-blowing experience. This sounds fake, right? Like this can't be real. Like this sounds like the plot of every hastily scripted incest porn ever. Like, Uncle, what are you doing? Like just most basic lazy fucking writing. Like, oh yeah, I got my wife was out of town and a couple of her nieces come by and well, figuring since we ain't blood relations, it was all good. We had ourselves a good old hootin' time. And I'm using a southern rednecky accent because, well, let's be honest, this probably didn't happen in Hackensack, right? I'm assuming this wasn't in Bayonne. Um, continuing with the letter. I assumed they were old enough to be discreet, but they weren't. A few weeks later, one of them told another family member, and the news made it back to my wife. My wife was beyond upset. She told me to move out, but I refused. Since then, she has made my life a living hell. I mean, you can't do something like this without assuming you'll get caught, right? I mean, yeah. Look, I get it. You know, you wanted to get a little drunk and beat up some pussy. I don't know if there was some cocaine involved. You know, that drugs and alcohol are going to lead you down the devil's path. Actually, it sounds like it led him down a perfectly delightful path. But you can't do this and assume it will not get back to someone eventually, right? Again, tough to blame him. The algorithm these days on porn sites is just throwing incest porn in everyone's face. And apparently, again, I've said this before. I've interviewed the performers at the Exotica convention, and they all tell me the same thing. We make it because that's what you people are jacking off to. So this man with these sultry college co-ed nieces who are not related to him by blood undoubtedly fantasized about this exact scenario dozens of times. Right? He saw it depicted in the media that he consumes, right? The ways that people get brainwashed by CNN or Fox or MSNBC or what have you. It perhaps is just as easily for the horny middle-aged gentleman to be brainwashed by Pornhub.com, Xvideos.com, wherever you get your masturbating material, into believing that it is reasonable and acceptable to bang your college-aged nieces while your wife is at work, right? He sees it. He sees the videos. He pleases himself at every family gathering he attends, every Thanksgiving, every Easter, every Christmas. It gets harder and harder for him to resist temptation, and then one day, it happens. It's like those Columbine kids with Marilyn Manson's music, right? If they weren't listening to that and seeing that guy dressed in black, they never would have shot up that high school, or so we were told. And if look, he says he comes from a small town. You know, if you live in some small backwoods, you know, burb of just a couple thousand, you're there your whole life, you don't often get the chance to live out your sexual fantasies. You have to seize the opportunity, seize the day, carpe diem, by fucking your nieces. That is the scenario this man was presented with. He was conditioned by the media. Again, Pornhub is mainstream. X videos is pretty mainstream. They're all over. They have huge followings. He was convinced by the media to fuck his nieces. Okay. The letter continues. I never wanted to destroy our marriage, but the allure of two young women is a fantasy most men cannot refuse. I never believed two sexual exploits could destroy my marriage of 33 years. I am not seeing a way to fix this. Any suggestions? And he signs himself regretful. He's regretful. He regrets doing this, but again, he was led astray by the media and by these two young temptresses. No man could have resisted. You would have had to have been the gayest man. Clay Aiken would have had a three-way under these circumstances. Okay? Lockdown is making people do crazy things, folks. And like I said, if you come from a small town and you wind up banging your nieces, I have to assume it is somewhere with some redneck flair. Alabama, Mississippi, West Virginia, Maine, the Florida Panhandle, Georgia. Pussy does not age well in places like that. So if you're married, say the earliest this guy's married, because we're trying to approximate his age, and I want to position them as young as possible to show you that even at the age that they would have reached, his wife's pussy is probably a disaster. Let's say they were married at 18. They've been married for 33 years. That would make them 51 at the youngest. And when I say that rural pussy doesn't age well, I don't mean like, country pussy. I'm sure Carrie Underwood will have a beautiful pussy when she hits 51. I would still fuck Dolly Parton. I would prefer to fuck her between her tits, but I would still fuck Dolly Parton, and I'm pretty sure she's in her 80s or her late 70s. But again, I am talking about rural pussy. You know the kind of rural pussy I'm talking about, right? 51 from, say, rural Maine is not it's not Halle Berry, it's not Elizabeth Hurley. It's an old catcher's mitt that got left in the rain, and now you're trying to dry it in the sun on your front porch, right? Go do me a favor, because I know I have some people checking in on here who are from the South, but if you are taking offense to this, go to a Walmart in the deep South or in a rural area out in fucking go to the Rust Belt, anywhere in sort of forgotten America, go to a Walmart, find a 51-year-old and ask yourself, would I fuck this woman? Or if she had two hot nieces home from college who wanted to party while the old hag's, off at the office, would I rather do that? And then tell me what you would have done. And then to, again, have the Pornhubs of the world pushing him towards this, I don't see how he had a choice. He was radicalized online. The circumstances at home put him in a position where it seemed like not only a thing that he could do, but a thing that he had to do. So I really hope that things work out for this gentleman, because he's a victim in all. The wife is a victim. I'm not saying that this isn't horrible for her, but he is a victim as well. So I hope this goes well for him, and